that's needed to present a very convincing picture. For example,
could you speak up a little, Gillian? We're having a little trouble picking you up there.
No, just use this mic. Yeah, just use that mic. It's just a not very good mic, that one.
One of the things that was not touched on at all that's extremely important is the telephone calls from the planes. There was no mention of that, and that's one of the most significant pieces of evidence, I think. Those phone calls could not have been made from flights at cruising altitude, because cell phones just don't work at cruising altitude.
Yes, indeed. And David Ray Griffin, I believe, did some research into the availability of seat back phones on United Airlines, and he found out that on the Flight 77 they did not have them.
That's right. That was the call that came in from Barbara Olson, which was the absolutely pivotal call in identifying Arab hijackers on the plane. She said they'd got box cutters, they had red bandanas on, and
which is Shiites actually, not Sunni. Shiites wear the red bandana.
And that phone call could not have been made. Her husband, at the Justice Department, supposedly, well, he changed his story several times. He started off saying he'd received a phone call from a seat-back phone, and then he obviously realised that couldn't have happened, so he changed his story and said it was a cell call, and there was a problem of her supposedly having used a credit card for the call. Needed to be a credit card, rather, and she didn't have a credit card with her. There's absolutely no record of the call having been made at the Justice, having been received at the Justice Department. And there's abundant evidence that these type of calls can be created by voice synthesization. And there's a recent video that's just been put up on YouTube, where the telephone call from one of the people, they didn't put the phone down at the end of the call, and you can hear the voice of someone who's evidently coaching this person, and they say very quietly, "You did great." You did great.
But can I just... sorry, Gillian. We're running a little short of time.
Can I just have one very brief comment on that, which is very important, what Gillian has said. In fact, in 2006, at the trial of Zacharias Moussaoui, the FBI produced all of the telephone records that were made, allegedly, from the various planes. In respect of the Barbara Olson phone call, they did say there was one phone call made by her cell phone to the Justice Department that lasted 0 seconds.
0 seconds.
0 seconds. That was the evidence the FBI gave at the Moussaoui trial, which totally blew away the evidence that Olson had given. Now, if you don't recall reading a headline in the Australian or the Sydney Morning Herald or the Age, wherever it is you live, or the New York Times, the Washington Post, Solicitor General of the United States lied about phone conversations with wife, you wouldn't be alone.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. Look, we're sort of running a little bit towards time at the moment, and what I wanted to do is I'd really like to get each of you here to make a short, like a 1 minute statement, because I'm basically would like to get your deeply felt expression of what you think the most important thing we can do to basically bring this to justice and bring this to resolution, because we can talk about it endlessly, but we really want to get results, and like I'd just like to have 1 minute from each person, under 1 minute, and then we want to turn it over to the audience, because we're supposed to be out of here by 11, so we don't really have much time. Would that be okay if we just do a sweep through, starting with you, John?
Well, I think so far what we've seen works is civil informationing. That's a term coined by Robin Horden, who appeared in Zero. And basically we have to get out there and pass this information to person. And we need to do it by actually touching people and talking to them about the issue. The people that are here today, most of them have been talked to specifically by someone about 9/11, and they've received information that's backed up what they've heard from that person. And they say that it takes 3 contacts to get anyone in any particular type of thing interested in something. They need to be touched a few times. So you can't give up. You've got to keep pushing on those people that keep rejecting your advances. And because a lot of those people that reject and push away, which I was one initially, will be the ones that will become the real warriors, the ones, you know, that they get really pissed off when they find out that they've been lied to. So we've just got to keep pushing the information out. We can't trust the media to do it. We have to become the media, and we have to do it hand to hand, friend to friend. We have to become a community. You've got to be a community.
I suppose the thing that struck me initially was the fact that we really worked out that explosives were used in the towers and in Building 7 a long time ago. We've had the case for that a long time, and since then we have made very little progress. The reason why we've made very little progress is that really this is no longer a scientific debate. It is psychological warfare, as we heard yesterday, and we have to try and outsmart the warriors on the other side. We have to double think. We have to think again and try and somehow insulate ourselves, immunise ourselves against being influenced by them, and keep our powder dry so that we can attack whenever we get a chance. I don't know exactly how we're going to attack, but the important thing is to recognise that this is a mind game now.
Thanks very much, Frank.
I think about why the attacks were perpetrated. They were to serve military and economic and imperial aims of the United States. As a result of those attacks, like similar attacks throughout history, tens of thousands, and in this case millions of people have died. And yet we are still being lied to, despite the overwhelming... I'm not a scientist, but I didn't get past the 4th form in terms of physics. But even I can understand the basic physics that people like Frank Legge and Stephen Jones and Gordon Ross and others have given us. The evidence is incontrovertible as to what happened. We know why it happened. What we must demand is accountability for what happened. We can't expect our traditional forms of media to do anything about it. The answer lies in our own hands.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
We must understand the mind war. We must understand the nature of the psychological operation that's being waged against us, against the people, the deception that they've managed to perpetrate for 7 years now. And we have to break through that. We have to break the cognitive dissonance that prevents people from recognising when they're presented with this overwhelming evidence that the buildings were brought down, controlled demolition, and we need to bring it home to Australia. Why is it relevant 7 years after these attacks? Why is it still relevant today? And it's relevant because Australia is bound to the United States with mutual defence pacts. ANZUS and AUSCAN-NUCUS is the other acronym that they use. Every time the United States from now on goes into a war, whether there's another false flag attack or not, they use Israel, for example, to attack Iran as they're planning to and intend